Okay, so we're going to learn how to follow a line to a T. The first thing you have to do is obviously name your program. And hit go. And we're going to be working in the advanced palette, so if you'd click down here. So to follow a line to a T, you need two light sensors. We're going to use them in ports 2 and 3 today. 2 is going to be the light sensor on the left, and 3 is going to be the one on the right. And our motors are going to be plugged into B and C, B being the left motor and C being the right motor. If you set your light sensors up wide enough, they should straddle the line and it'll catch the line or trap the line, if you will. So if one is white and the other is black, you need to turn until they're white again. And when they're both white, you just want to go straight. And when they both see black, that's when you know you hit your T and you need to stop. So if you think about it, there's really 4 scenarios. When you see white and white, you go straight. When you see white and dark on one side, you turn one way. When you see dark and light, you turn the other way. And when you see dark, you need to stop. So in order to create these 4 scenarios, we go ahead and use some switches inside of switches. And they're all going to deal with light sensors. So like I said, we'll set the first one to port 3. And the 2 inside switches we'll set to port 2. And all of these are going to be light sensor switches. Now, as you can see, we're creating 4 different scenarios as discussed earlier. So here we have light and light. So when your sensor C, light and light, the line is between your light sensors and you just want to go straight. So that's pretty easy. And the next thing is if we see light and dark, we want to go ahead and turn one way. And with my configuration, I'm going to wind up with a move block that looks like this. And like I said, if we see dark and light, we're just going to go ahead and turn the other way. If you notice how far I'm sliding these sliders, if you have them all the way, that is one wheel forward and one wheel backward. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this, except you're not really going to get anywhere. If you move it a little farther, this is approximately one wheel still and the other wheel moving. And the farther towards the center you go, the less of a difference. You can play around with this to see what setting you like best. And this last one, dark, is of course when we see the T, so we're just going to stop. If you notice, the increments that it defaults to is 1 rotation, which is a really long time to go without checking your sensors. So in fact, we're going to change this to about 10 degrees. And you'll notice some jitteriness in your robot when it runs this program, and if you play with this degree value, you can get some of it to go away. Also, if you go too quickly, your robot's just going to dart right over the line. So we're going to change these all to half power. And for following a line, that's really not that slow, depending on your wheel size and gearing, of course. So obviously at this point it'll go through it once, but 10 degrees of line following to a T really doesn't get us very far. So we're going to have to get a loop. The tricky part of this is we don't want it to go forever. We want the program to stop, or we want to put something after it follows the line to T. If you really just want a program that follows the line to the T and you want to cut it off, a forever loop works. But if we're going to do a program after this, we don't really know, we don't really have another sensor we want to use, we don't have a timer count, we're going to have to use logic. And looking at the logic loop, all it says is keep going until I see a true. So you guessed it, we're going to play with some variables. And a variable is just something that holds a value, in this case true or false. So initially we want this loop to run. So initially we want to write logic 1 to false. But when we get down into dark, we don't want it to repeat anymore. And if we remember our loop correctly, if we send it a true message, then it stops. See, if you select the loop, it goes until it's true. And so when we're done, we set it to true. And of course, it needs to read this. So we'll put it here, we'll tell it to read, and we'll wire it up. And that's all there is to it.